The boxes were still stacked in the hallway when I first felt it. Not a draft or a creak, but something heavier in the air, like the house was holding its breath just to spite me. I'd chosen the place for its quiet streets and low rent, a two-story relic from the 1920s with peeling wallpaper and floors that groaned underfoot. The realtor had called it charming, but as I unpacked dishes in the kitchen, the silence pressed in. I took a deep breath, and it stuck halfway down, like inhaling through wet cloth. Shaking it off, I blamed the dust and the long drive. That night, sleep came slow. The bedroom ceiling loomed low, shadows pooling in the corners where the streetlight couldn't reach. Every inhale felt measured, as if the walls were counting. Morning brought fog outside the windows, thick and unmoving, mirroring the haze in my lungs. Coffee helped a little, steam rising like a plea for fresh air. I opened every window, but the curtains hung limp, refusing to stir. Work called from the city an hour away, so I locked up and drove off, windows down to gulp the open road. The day blurred into meetings and emails, but by afternoon, my chest tightened again, a dull ache like forgotten asthma from childhood. Returning home, the house waited, lights off and doors ajar. I flicked the switch, and the bulb hummed faintly, casting yellow pools that didn't chase the gloom. Supper was simple. Pasta on the stove. Yet the steam from the pot seemed to sink, not rise, clinging to my skin. Eating alone at the table, I noticed the chairs. They sat too close, legs scraping the floor as if inching nearer with each breath I took. Days blurred into a routine that soured quick. The basement door, which I'd propped open for laundry, swung shut one evening, latching with a click that echoed up the stairs. Down there, the air turned stale, thick with the scent of old stone and something sharper, like rusting metal. I tugged the handle, but it held fast, the wood warm under my palm. Panic flickered. My lungs burned from the effort, and I pounded until my fists throbbed. Finally, it gave, swinging wide as if bored. Inside, the washer hummed empty, but the room felt smaller, walls leaning in like eavesdroppers. Upstairs, I avoided the basement after that, folding clothes in the living room where the couch sagged under me, cushions molding to my shape too eagerly. Nights grew worse. Lying in bed, the sheets twisted around my ribs, tightening with each exhale. I'd wake gasping, convinced the pillow had crept over my face. Moonlight sliced through blinds, but the air stayed still, heavy as lead. Friends visited once early on, carrying pizza and beer. They laughed at the house's quirks. The way faucets dripped in rhythm, the attic stairs that creaked without weight. We sat on the porch, breeze finally stirring the leaves, and for an hour, breathing eased. But inside, over slices at the table, their voices muffled, as if the rooms swallowed sound. One coughed, blaming the pizza spice, but I saw it. The subtle wheeze, the hand to the throat. They left early, claiming early mornings, tires crunching gravel into the dark. Alone again, I paced the hallway, mirrors reflecting a face paler than before. The house shifted then, not with cracks or thumps, but a sigh from the vents, long and drawn out, like resentment exhaled. I pressed my ear to the wall, wood vibrating faintly, and pulled away fast. That night, dreams came of lungs like bellows, pumping air that turned to smoke. Winter crept in soft, snow blanketing the yard in white hush. Heaters rattled to life, but warmth pooled unevenly, scorching by the fireplace, icy drafts snaking under doors. My breath fogged windows from inside, frost etching patterns like fingers clawing glass. Mornings, I'd scrape it away, but it reformed quick, blurring the world beyond. The attic called next, boxes of the previous owner's junk piled high. Curiosity dragged me up, ladder unfolding with a groan. Dust motes danced in the single bulb's glow, but they settled slow, as if weighed down. Rifling through yellowed letters and faded photos, I found a journal, leather cracked, pages brittle. Words smudged, but one entry leaped. It resents the rhythm, the in and out. Make it still. Heart pounding, I slammed it shut, descending fast. The ladder wobbled, rungs slick, and halfway down, the air thinned, chest seizing like a vice. I tumbled the last steps, bruising knees on hardwood, gasping till spots danced in my eyes. Repairs became obsession. I called a plumber for the vents, his truck rumbling up the drive. He poked at ducts, muttering about blockages, but shook his head. Air's flowing fine, just close. His face flushed as he worked, wiping sweat despite the chill. By the end, he bolted, invoice unpaid, tires spinning mud. Electrician came next, wiring old and frayed. Lights flickered during his crawl spaces, shadows leaping like accusations. He emerged coughing, mask askew, declaring it fixed. But bulbs burned out faster, plunging rooms into black where breaths echoed loud. I bought an air purifier, humming beast plugged in the bedroom. Filters whirring clean. It died overnight, cord chewed through, plastic gnawed like bone. Unplugging it, I found the outlet warm, as if the house had spit it out. Isolation deepened. Calls to family shortened. My voice strained, words clipped by shallow pulls of air. Groceries delivered now, bags left on the stoop to avoid the threshold's pull. The house expanded in stillness, rooms stretching longer, doorways narrowing. Hallway mirrors warped my reflection, neck elongated, mouth gaping for gulps that never filled. One storm night, thunder rolled distant, rain lashing panes. Lightning flashed, illuminating cracks in plaster like veins pulsing. I huddled in the living room, blanket drawn tight, but fabric constricted, threads binding like webs. Sleep evaded. Instead, whispers filtered through floors, soft hisses, rhythmic, mocking my own labored draws. Dawn broke gray, and I fled to the yard, grass wet under bare feet, sky wide and forgiving. Breaths came deep there, chest unfolding, but the front door yawned open, beckoning. Curiosity twisted to dread. The journal haunted, its words burrowing. I climbed back to the attic, lungs burning on the ascent, pages trembling in my grip. More entries. Pleas to quiet the breath, offerings of silence. The writer had lived here decades back. Walls closing in response to sighs, gasps, even whispers. Final page, ink smeared. It was built wrong. No room for life's theft. Heart slamming, I tore down, journal clutched like a talisman. But the house knew. Doors along the hall slammed shut, one by one, sealing rooms with finality. Trapped in the corridor, air thickened to syrup, each inhale a theft. Walls pulsed inward, wallpaper bubbling as if boiling beneath. I clawed at the nearest knob, locked solid, palm blistering on brass. Panic clawed deeper than lungs, vision tunneling black. In that crush, memory surfaced. The realtor's hesitation, eyes darting to corners during the tour. Old place, breathes heavy sometimes. I'd laughed then. Now, knees buckled. I slid down, back to wall that heaved like a chest. Breaths shallowed to sips, ribs aching protest. The house leaned close, floorboards sighing under weight that wasn't mine. Shadows coiled from baseboards, tendrils cool on skin, wrapping throat in invisible noose. Struggle faded. Limbs heavy, mind drifting to the yard's openness, the road's rush. But surrender whispered sweet. Let go the in, the out. Let the house rest. A crack splintered the quiet, front door ajar, latch given by wind or mercy. Air rushed in, thin and sharp, flooding the hall. I crawled toward it, nails splintering on wood, lungs screaming revival. Outside, dawn bled pink across snow, breaths ragged but free. Stumbling to the car, keys fumbling, engine roared life. Gravel spat as I peeled away, house shrinking in the mirror, windows dark eyes watching. Miles unspooled, chest easing with each curve, but doubt lingered. Rent paid through month's end, belongings abandoned. Where to now? Motels with thin walls, apartments stacked high. Would they resent too? Pulling into a diner off the highway, steam from coffee cut the chill. Waitress poured, smile easy, air circulating fans lazy overhead. I sipped, lungs full at last, but glanced out at passing semis, wondering if roads breathed easy or held grudges. The check came quick. I left cash and walked out, sky vast above. Yet in the rear view, a flicker, old house's silhouette, or just a hill's shadow. Breathing steady, I drove on, but the rhythm felt borrowed, fragile as frost on glass. Houses wait, patient and vast, for the next thief of air to cross their sills.